Hey everyone, so today I'm going to discuss my disability investigation with an emphasis on speech impairments. So what are speech impairments? Speech impairments is the impaired ability to produce speech, sounds, and range from a variety of complexity levels. Typically, you see this problem in students at a younger age, in elementary school from kindergarten to second or third grade. There's a heavy emphasis on correcting these speech limitations as students struggle initially with communication, verbal, writing, phonetics, those kind of things. These skills are tried to be redirected and corrected at an early age, and you can see this happening across the board in many schools. Three main types of speech impairments are articulation disorders, fluency disorders, and voice disorders. So, characteristics of this disability. For articulation, there are errors in the production of sounds for speech production. He or she often has difficulty making certain sounds with articulation. These sounds may be left off, added, changed, or distorted, which makes it hard for people to understand. Some of these disorders include omissions, like saying bow instead of boat, substitutions, wabbit for rabbit, or distortions, schlip for ship. Those are common articulation problems with speech. Fluency. Fluency involves the difficulties with the rhythm and timing of speech, characterized by hesitations, repetitions, or prolongations of sounds, syllables, words, or phrases. Examples include stuttering, rapid-fire repetitions of consonant or vowel sounds, especially at the beginning of words. Hesitations, interjections, and complete verbal blocks. In addition, cluttering is also an issue with fluency where excessively fast and jerky speech occurs. Voice are problems with the quality or the use of one's words resulting from disorders in the larynx. Voice disorders are characterized by abnormal production and absences of vocal quality, pitch, loudness, resonance, and or duration. So before I start on describing some of the abilities of these individuals, this is a very short, composed, and compiled list that in no way describes all the abilities of individuals with speech impairments. These are abilities through the lens of educators and does not account for their abilities or include their abilities as a person who has tremendous growth and opportunity for success both in and outside of the classroom. Many teachers, and through the research I've gathered, have able to note that individuals with speech impairments often have strong abilities to want to complete tasks, have classroom jobs, and stay busy throughout the school day. In addition, their listening skills are fantastic. They're often phenomenal. And this is in part because they have to overcompensate by listening since they struggle with verbal communication. This can be seen as they have limitations getting out words, speaking, communicating with their teachers and their peers. So doing this, they have strong auditory listening skills because of it. And as you might expect, students with speech impairments often have a very, very strong work ethic that takes them way past the classroom and into their adult life. These limitations that they encounter at an early age in elementary school stick with them, and the remarkable progress that they are able to make to overcome these speech limitations carry on with them as they start a job, as they get older into the workforce. So their work ethic really develops during this transition of working with speech impairments and limitations. So, learning challenges of these individuals take a variety of forms. You often can see this in the classroom as educators. You can see this now. Students that have speech impairments often have trouble, as you can imagine, expressing what they're trying to say. They often get frustrated because of their articulation issues. They have trouble getting out the words that they want to say. They have trouble pronouncing words. They may stutter. They may freeze up. So articulation is a big issue, and that causes a learning challenge. Comprehension is another key challenge for individuals with speech impairments. Beginning readers are these students at this target age from kindergarten to second grade. As you know, students in this age spend a lot of time trying to read. They're reading at a very young age, starting kindergarten and sometimes even before kindergarten, even simplistically trying to read small sentences and their name. So comprehension is a huge problem with this disability because they often struggle decoding words, struggle pronouncing words, and this can alter how they might interpret a passage or a story due to their trouble breaking down or decoding key important sentences and words. As you remember, maybe at a young age when a reading specialist would come into our classroom and they would check off the words we were able to pronounce successfully and non-successfully, and then ask us to reflect on what we read and what the story was about. Students with speech problems have trouble with situations like this, and comprehension is a big learning curve that they've got to address and work on. And finally, spelling and phonetics is another issue. Spelling is an issue that all students work on throughout their time, kindergarten through second grade, as we used to have spelling tests. Students with speech problems often have trouble internally and externally, have trouble speaking, therefore have trouble spelling and putting together words as they're writing them out. So it is not just inside in their mind and in their brain. They have got to actually get these words onto paper and as well as speak. And so spelling and writing is another important skill that they have got to learn to overcome through these challenges with speech. Behavioral challenges. As you can see from this visual, there's a teacher working with a student who is frustrated with their speech problems. So children who have difficulty communicating often lash out in anger, they lose patience, and their temperament easier. In addition, they may shut down or feel shy because they don't want to get picked on by other students because of their stuttering or their speech problems. And this causes a lot of other issues, such as bullying and having trouble making friends. So this, in return, causes a lot of behavioral challenges for individuals and students in education. So this is a long list of effective teacher strategies that you can incorporate into your classroom with dealing with students that have speech impairments. So I'm not going to read them all, but I'm going to give a brief overview of some of the important ones that I thought were we should highlight from this. Students with speech problems are visual learners. Since they struggle communicating, they like visual cues, and it's important to incorporate that in your classroom setting to help them learn one-on-one. Being able to visually see it plays a role in helping them cope with being able to get their words out. So it is important to have visual aids throughout the classroom to give students time to redirect and look to these visual aids as a guide or a helping asset. As always, they take note of how you speak, and that is important as teachers to speak clearly and deliberately. It is important, as always, not just for this disability, but for many disabilities, all disabilities, to allow more time for students to complete activities if it is possible. This can aid in them having any distractions or frustrations. If they have slow or sloppy handwriting, this can help with that, as well as if they're having problems decoding text or having comprehension issues. You can always design tests and presentations that are appropriate for the student, often written instead of oral, in addition to dividing academic goals or groups into a smaller group setting so that students might feel less pressured to speak in front of a big setting or a larger group setting. And as always, establishing communication goals to improve in their school and work setting is important. Effective behavioral management strategies include being close to them, being a close resource to them when giving instructions, and if they ask any questions, you're able to quickly come over and explain something if needed. It often helps to provide a quiet spot so it can reduce unnecessary classroom noise and help them decode and debrief better. You can always have the students come up with a replacement behavior that you can teach them that will give them a more appropriate way to communicate what they need or what they're feeling. So these are just some key effective behavioral management strategies. So an effective teacher strategy demonstration, I was able to look up PECS, which is a picture exchange communication system. This is especially important for students with not only speech impairments but also with autism, because students with autism have trouble, have limitations with speaking. And so this allows people with little or no communication abilities to communicate using pictures. So as you can see from this visual aid right here, you can see these are pictures that help describe a certain word or need that a student may have or want. So educators use PECS. Using PECS are taught to approach another person and give them a picture of a desired item in exchange for that item. So by doing so, the person is able to initiate communication. So this is a great way for teachers to utilize this tool to help students communicate easier and simplistically by using pictures, which is a great visual aid that students with speech impairments can rely on. So these are my references, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation on students with speech impairments. Thank you so much.